Okay, I'm up in this big, kind of a bur oak, white oak, and I'm out in the swamp, and this is really a really a good spot. This is a private spot, and I'm the only guy. There's a lot of guys hunting this property. I'm the only person the owner lets hunt in the swamp on this particular property. This is one of my 3 private parcels that I have permission to hunt. And the only reason he lets me hunt in the swamp because he 100% trusts my scent control regiment. Nobody else has a scent control regiment, and he's concerned about them blowing deer out of the swamp. And this is also a spot where I primarily only hunt on all-day sits, 1.5 hours before daylight till after dark. And basically, here I am. So there's runways where the cameraman's at. There's runways going this way. There's basically runways in a lot of different spots right here, and it's because there's an oak here, and there's 2 other oaks over here. They're both all the same. They're all 3 big white bur oaks. And the years they have acorns, it's a really good spot. If you're hunting in a pressured area, you got to be in a tree with some cover around you, or you're just not going to get many opportunities at 3.5-year-old and older bucks. So if you've noticed, one thing that's consistent about what I've done and what my trees that I do prep, even on public land, I get in big trees. This particular tree, I just swing around because I'm in a saddle. There's a shot opportunity over here to my side. I can take that shot. Shot opportunity here. I don't know if you can see me, but big shot opportunity there. And there's also a shot opportunity over here behind me. So there's only one spot, basically, in this whole area that I can't shoot at, and it's probably about a 20-degree slot right directly to my south. But other than that, I can shoot anything that comes through this area within 30 yards. 25 to 30. 25 is my go-to shot. But the more wood you've got around you, even if there's so much wood that it blocks a little portion of your shot opportunities, take it, because when those opportunities do come, you're going to actually get it. You're not going to get picked moving around the tree. The bigger the tree, the harder they are to climb, obviously. You know, on public land, it's really hard to get sticks and stuff up trees like this. But especially on private ground, if you can find a destination zone or a nice transition route through some security cover, transition security cover, always look for a tree where you're going to have an actual opportunity to get a shot off. You know, if you're in small trees, your odds are just smaller. You know, everything should run on percentages. Your odds are definitely going to be better in a tree where you've got lots of wood, where you can actually maneuver around and not get picked because you've got so much wood around you. Now, this tree is kind of an exception. These are rare to find a tree like this, but most of my trees are in maples. Maybe they're multi-trunked, or maybe they have a big crotch at where I'm at. And those are the trees I always try to find. If all I have at a very specific destination location is a 14 or 16 inch straight trunk tree, I'll get in it. Odds are I'll be up at 30 feet. I want to get up really, really high so I'm out of their peripheral vision. But with trees like this, I'm probably 25 feet, I would guess, because this is the only place in this tree I could actually get where this crotch here is wide enough where I can get my body through it for a shot. You know, I don't need to be this high in this type of tree, but if I got down any lower, my body wouldn't fit through there for that shot. So with a saddle, you always have to look at a tree and figure out when there's crotches. You've got to make sure you're up the crotch far enough where it widens out, where your body will slip through the crotches. Same with this right here. My body will just slide through this one. My body will just slide through this one. So I got to the first spot. Same with this here. This one here. I got to the first spot where my body will slide between all these crotches with no problem, where I'm not rubbing my back of my clothing against bark and making noise at crunch time. So the type of tree you pick out is really important. And again, if you pan the ground here, this is all swamp area, and deer don't bed in here much during the winter. They bed out on more peripheral stuff closer to, you know, preferred food sources. But man, during a rut, it doesn't get any better than a spot like this. You're down in heavy security cover. These weeds are going to be a lot taller in the fall. You're in heavy security cover. A buck would feel comfortable moving through here. pretty much any time of day during the actual rut phases, when his testosterone rises to the point where he does some daytime movement in pressured areas. So this is the type of areas that I kind of key on and kind of look for. And during rut phases, this is strictly a rut phase spot. I take that back. I will hunt here if these trees, I do a little speed tour just prior to season. If these trees are dropping acorns, I will hunt here maybe the first 1 or 2 times during the first 3 days of season. After that, there's so much pressure around here. You know, any buck I want to kill is going to be nocturnal. Odds are the preseason scouting pressure will make them nocturnal before I even get to hunt opening day. But there is always that slight chance there might be something moving through here during daylight hours the first day or two of first couple 2 or 3 days of season. Okay, another thing I forgot to mention, on a lot of these bigger diameter trees, if it's on private property and you're hunting out of a saddle, it's probably a good idea to put a couple of handholds above your ring. I'm a ring of steps guy. I am not a platform guy. I want to stay tight to the tree. But if you put some steps, and I prefer this Cranford folding step. It's a double fold step, and it's got a little half moon on the end, so it's real easy to grip, and your hand doesn't slide off it because of that half moon stops it. Put a couple of these up the tree above your ring. That way, on a big diameter tree, it's hard to hold onto the tree and step up into your spot. So with this, you can keep that down when you get out of the tree, and then when you come back up the tree, you use that as a handhold to pull yourself up onto your ring. And then once you're actually hunting, you just fold it back up so it's out of the way, so you're not going to brush against it at all when you're actually hunting. And then when you get back down, pull it back out, use it as a handhold for getting back down. Welcome to the whiteboard portion of Eberhart's Outdoors on that big oak we were just at here not too long ago, where I was hidden behind the tree, and then I popped out, monster oak out in the swamp. And this is pretty much a diagram of the property. I'm going to become the Karl Rove of hunting, I guess, with my big whiteboards. This is like a table of contents over here to the left. So that kind of stuff right there, which is here, here, here. That's patches of red brush and just nasty little areas of brush. Then the blue, this right in here, this is all mature open timber. There's tree stands on here. I'm the only guy I know of that hunts in the swamp here. Everybody else is out in this open timber. There's a tree stand there, tree stand there, tree stand there, tree stand there, and there's some others up in here. Then this over here is open timber again. And when I say open timber, it's primarily mature oaks, some ash trees, maple trees, also black cherry. So it's all mature timber. So there's a pretty heavy canopy, and it doesn't allow a lot of sun. So there's not a lot of understory. No security cover for deer to transition through. It's just open timber. This here is all marsh. So this red line is the timber line. Anything on this side is going to be marsh grass and cattails and patches of water, depending on the year. And that's pretty wide. This is probably, I'd guess, 200 yards across here and maybe 250 yards across right here, because it comes down and then it shoots over a little bit. This here is pretty much a straight line on this side. So this is all marsh grass, and there's no trees whatsoever in this area up in here. There's no trees down in this area here. There are some sparse dead trees, and there are some smaller bur oaks up in here. So there is a few trees, but they're very, very sparse. And this is that monster oak. I mean, it is a big, huge bur oak. So that's a white oak, and there's another smaller white oak over here. They're the only 2 white oaks in this entire marshy area. There's just a little bit of high ground right there. So that's the big oak, and there's a river. River runs right through here. It's that blue line, and it kind of meanders quite a bit. And there's little patches of this red brush along the river in certain areas, but other than that, it's all marsh grass and cattails. And well, nope, that's not on this spot. All of these black lines are runways. So because this kind of makes a cut right here, deer kind of come in right through here. Deer come down through the marsh because it's a nice transition zone, and deer bed in here. Deer bed in this entire thing. Does, bucks, everything beds in this marshy area because there's, even though years when it's wet, there's always dry humps. There's always lots of little dry humps for deer to bed at. But this here is a pretty much of a dry, high ground. So there's always a runway skirting the edge of the river, and it comes over. I kind of cut it off right here, but it comes down, comes over here, skirts down the edge of this river. It's within shooting distance of that oak. There's also a spot right here where this red brush is. Deer bed in that red brush. They skirt out here because there's crop fields out that way, the other side of that timber. So they'll come out of that red brush and go through this marsh grass and shoot dead west out into those crop fields for feeding after dark. But deer just transition through this marsh during pre-rut and rut all the time. You know, bucks do in search of does bedded in this marsh. And it's just a phenomenal spot. That's a really big oak. I'm up there about 28 feet to my feet. It's private ground, so it's not a tree that you could do. You couldn't prep that tree on public. There's no way you could get anything around it. It's that big around at the base. And again, I just can't stress enough, focus on security cover whenever you're prepping locations, public land, private land, whatever. You know, even though I hunt some private properties, I've got 3 private properties that I hunt in Michigan. They get hunted by other people. I'm not the only person that hunts it. I just knock on doors. So other people knock on their doors and get permission too. So I'm hunting against a lot of other people, damn near the same as public land. And so deer are very security cover oriented. And everything I do, when you watch some of my videos, you know, I'm scouting marshes and swamps and timber with understudy, red brush. You know, you've got to go places where a mature buck feels secure moving during daylight hours. And it's going to be in areas like this where they've got quick exit routes. But to find a big oak like that, that drops acorns about every 3 or 4 years on average, but to find something like that, even when it doesn't drop acorns, it doesn't make any difference. It's just right in the middle of this huge marsh that runs for miles, and it's just all transition cover, so security cover where deer bed. So, you know, great spot for a rut phase, all day sit. And well, anyway, you saw the video. And you saw the runways and how big that tree was, how well hidden I am. I can do the meringue up in that tree when there's deer by me and they can't see me. I've just got so much cover. That's one of the cool things about a saddle. You know, you can swing around to the back side of the tree and you can't see you. You know, depending on the diameter of the tree, obviously. But anyway, that's the story on that spot. I'm going to continue doing these whiteboards. I think it's a little bit easier than an aerial. A lot of times on an aerial, you know, you may see a stand of pines, but you don't know what kind of pines they are. They may be white pines that are 8 feet of no understudy underneath. All the branches are dead. They might be spruce trees that go all the way to the ground, and it's a phenomenal bedding area. You don't know what kind of pressure the area has. So until you actually get on the ground and put your feet on the ground, you can't tell what something is. You know, you can look for like little highlight areas on an aerial photo, you know, some pinch points, some islands and marshes, but until you actually get your feet on the ground and know what kind of hunting pressure the area gets, it's pretty hard to pick out a spot. But once you do and you know where all the other hunters are hunting, you can hunt around them, and you can be successful. I've got 50 bucks in the book, so and I don't own anything. So if I can do it, you can do it. So just concentrate on security cover and destination spots. And this is definitely a destination location because it's a destination transition route location, because everything kind of pinches. This actual river where it kind of skirts over here, that actually pinches this down a little tighter. And that big oak's kind of right in the middle of it. They can go over here where they're a little bit out of my range, but anything along that river and 30 yards that direction, I've got that shot. And that's where the majority of the sign is. It stays tighter to the river. It stays as far away from the open timber over there as it can. Thank you. That's it.